you.
What?
Now, I don't know what happened with these 4 chairs here, but everyone's down. Like, does somebody want to sit? Like, I don't bite most of the time. All right. Yes, let's be friends. All right. So, I'm not gonna do what you said I was going to do. Because the guidelines are actually written down beautifully. So I wanted to take this time to actually discuss about who to be on stage. Because you always can check the guidelines of Techstars and you will get a handout. I will give you a handout afterwards. But there are deeper things that are happening when you're on stage. And it's really important to cover them. And today we will do that. To point that out. You might be wondering, is it worth it to listen to this woman? Yes, of course. So, you're welcome. So what we will do is, because you were just on a sugar rush, there you go. You were just in a sugar rush. Now we actually will stop time. And we will do a technique that it's really good to do before you get on stage and before you pitch, which is breathing. Shocking. You do that all the time. But the way that you do it is everything. So now we will do a breath in and a breath out. And each of those will be in 3 seconds and 3 seconds. Okay, and we will do that 3 times. So we can see if what kind of correlation does the sugar and the breathing make. But let's do that. So let's breathe in for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Exhale for 3. 1, 2, 3. Inhale for 1, 2, 3. Exhale for 1, 2, 3. Inhale for 1, 2, 3. Exhale for 1, 2, 3. Okay. How do you feel? Is there a difference? Okay. Yeah, that's important. That's important for when you are nervous and you're about to get on stage, your body is in fight or flight mode. This is a response that we have from our ancestors 400,000 years ago, that whenever they saw a tiger, a predator, or a potential enemy, they would just trigger all of these hormones in their body and they would get ready to fight or to run away. And that's what gets activated when we are about to be on stage. So it's important to do the breathing, because if you're breathing, your body's like, oh, they're breathing super chill, so they must be chill, they must be safe. So it's a really important strategy before you get on stage. What did I do with the... There you go. And since we're talking about our ancestors, let's travel back in time. Because today we're talking about who to be on stage. And our bodies haven't changed so much in the last 400,000 years since the first humans walked on Earth. And that left us with some evolutionary problems, but some are really good. Let's do the exercise and let's be one of those ancestors. Let's go to the savannah 200,000 years ago. We're walking, gathering some roots, looking around, seeing, oh, there's a fruit tree, grabbing stuff, and all of a sudden a stranger comes. And they're standing. And we know that they want something from us. What happens? What happens to that ancestor that is like looking at that other person's like, whoa, shit, are they gonna, are they nice? So whenever we are facing a situation that we're getting to know someone, we're that ancestor. We're looking at them and we're trying to assess if we can trust them. And trust, it's a complicated concept. But when you are looking at the other person, the person in the wilderness, you're like, are they going to stab me or are they going to be my friend? Like, how is this going to go? And the same is when you're pitching an investor. Because you could be a potential threat for their money. They're not going to put the money in your hands if you're going to lose it. So they are assessing you and they are trying to see if you can be trusted. There are two main elements to trust that we will cover in this talk. One of them is competence, the other one is likability. So, how do you show those? Let's start with competence. About a year ago, I was working with a client and I was helping him with his presentation skills. And he was very good at sales, and whenever he was pitching to a client, it was awesome. But if his boss would get on the call, he would get jittery, he would start rambling, he wouldn't make any sense. And then it was complicating things a lot. So we had a coaching session, and in this coaching session, we were talking about, okay, what is behind this fear? And because I'm a psychologist, on top of being a coach, then I was like, okay, let's explore a bit deeper. What's your relationship with your father like? And this person had never been to therapy, had never been considered going to a therapist. And that question actually was right, because it turned out that his father was a very authoritative figure, and whenever his boss was in the call, he would feel that he was being judged by his father. So then that led to another process, and it was good that I asked that question in that moment, because I was able to hold the space for the person to explore. So in that case, I showed the competence. I showed him that it was okay to talk about these things. And this is an important thing to do when you are pitching. Show that you're a confident person. Show that you're calm under pressure. If the microphone doesn't work, if the thingy thing doesn't work, then how do you handle these situations? Are you remaining calm or are you freaking out? Because the investor, if you're saying that you can stay calm, but if you're acting like you're not calm, then the person is going to go with the thing that they can see and perceive instead of the thing that you say. So that's why it's important to always show. Are you clear? Are you organized? Are you a good teammate? Show it. Show it. Show it in your talk, show it in your gestures, show it in your presentation. Okay? Next thing to do to show competence. Know your audience. Right now, I'm talking to you, and in the beginning, I was asking a question of the likes of, should I listen to this woman, or like, is this going to be useful? Is it going to be the same? So I was trying to get on your head and see what questions you might have, what things you might think that when I'm standing in front of you with a microphone, oh, how is this going to go? So I tried to get ahead of those questions and respond them. And this is what you also need to do with your investors or your clients. Know what the questions are. Get yourself in their shoes. Adjust your pitch to them. So this can be that if you're pitching to clients, you tell them how this product that you have is going to solve their biggest pain point. If you're pitching to investors, you're going to talk about how you're going to take their money and make it a bunch more money, and then they will be happy and you will be happy. So those are the kinds of things that you have to think about to display competence. One last thing. Keep their attention. If you are boring and they're falling asleep when you're talking, then they're not going to consider you competent. So the way that you can do to keep their attention, well, there's many ways, but you can use storytelling, introduce a story. You can use slides to make it dynamic. You can vary your voice. Let's see, what can I do? You can be like very serious and dramatic. And then you can be very excited and so fluffed up because this project is amazing. So you can use your voice to convey different states of emotion. Now everybody's creeped out. Sorry, I don't mean to. I don't mean to creep you out. Every time I breathe into this, Darth Vader. Okay. Then we go to the other concept. And this is likability. And then what is how do you do likability? If you're not likable, then what do you do? Well, I have this story with a very similar picture to the person in question. A few years ago, I was studying in the Netherlands, and I was doing this course called Unconventional Methods for Statistical Analysis. A mouthful, super boring. And I had this companion in my assignments. He was named Peter. He looked like that. And Peter was super serious, super bitter. He was almost a member of a royal family of the Netherlands. And whenever I was like sitting next to him, I was like, we have zero in common. I'm like this weirdo Latina that's all the time making weird comments, and then he's like super serious and complaining about everything. And I was like, okay, I guess we're stuck together. And what I did was, I was just my weird self. I was just normal around him. And he was normal around me. So even though our personalities didn't match at all, we were able to be genuine. And being authentic is actually what makes it make sense for other people. It's like, oh, okay, I can trust you. So likability is a lot about authenticity, just being yourself. And being yourself is your best shot at being likable. But this might be a very used phrase, like, be yourself, do you? What does that mean? Well, for the purposes of this talk, it means play on your strengths. If you're a nerd, be a nerd. If you love numbers, put a bunch of numbers in your presentation and just nerd out and get excited about them. If you are creative, figure out creative ways of presenting your product. Use your strengths. And this is going to be nice for the investors, the people that are watching, because they're going to trust you. Because they see that this is in coherence. As we said before, like if it's not in coherence, then you're not going to trust this person. So just in case, it's always important to lean on the strengths. So again, competence plus likability equals trust. Do we have time for a bonus tip?
Yeah, of course.
Perfect. Then
you have 12 minutes.
This is plenty of time. So, bonus tip. And this is a really important one that I would love for you to take home. In the beginning, we did an exercise on breathing. And this is actually to bring in presence to what you're doing. Because when we're running from A to B and completing this task and doing all of these different things that need to be done before tomorrow, we might forget to stop and appreciate where we are. So a key element in making an impression and also having a good time yourself is presence. Being present. Because you never know if when you're on stage, this is like the moment that you actually make it, you know? The moment that you meet the connection that is going to catapult you to the next stage of your life. So if you're not there for it, nobody is. I'm going to tell you a story that is very personal. And it's about my cat. I used to live in Uruguay. I lived my whole life in Uruguay. And at some point I decided I wanted to get out and go study in the Netherlands. And that meant, sadly, that I had to say goodbye to my cat. Of course, it was not going to travel. For the cat people here, there's two types of cats. The cats that love the house more than the people, and the cats that love the people more than the house. Salem loved the house more than me. So I was respecting that. And when I rented the house, I actually arranged for the next person that came in to actually take the cat as well. And they were super happy. They loved the animals. But there was one time, and it was 3 days before I flew to the Netherlands, that I had to go to the house one last time. And I had to go see the cat. And I was super busy. I was running from A to B, and I was like making luggage, doing paperwork, and all these crazy things you do before leaving your country. And I went into the house, and there was still the bed, because the bed, I was going to leave the bed for the new renter, and the cat was laying there. So I just laid in bed next to the cat, and I just held his paw. I don't know if you can see it, but it's pretty fluffy. He's really not happy. He's really not happy that I'm on him, but like you can see that at that time, he was actually very cuddly and very nice, and I held his paw. And I napped because I was so tired and so stressed. And then I woke up and I realized I was still holding his paw. And I realized this was the last time that we were going to be together. And I had this moment with this cat that I had for the last 4 years, where we were recognizing that this was important. And I felt the grief, and I felt the sadness, and I felt the goodbye, and it was so intense. And then with all of that in my heart, I let go of the paw. And I walked out of the room. I walked out of the house to get on a plane a few days later. If I hadn't stopped that moment to appreciate the connection and the love that I had for this cat, I would have missed it. So now, my invitation to you is to be there for it. Are you stressed? Are you angry? Are you annoyed? Whatever it is, be present and be there for it. Because this moment is as important as the moment that you nail your first melody. And it's only for you to notice. So for a great ending, thank you.